I think leadership for us, in a very practical way, kind of starts with Evan has a tendency to care about things that I can't be bothered with, and vice versa to some extent. So I think we complement each other really well. But importantly, what that means is we're very mindful of kind of complementing and supporting each other rather than clogging up each other's lanes, which sometimes is tough in a small privately held company that has 50-50 co-owners. You have to be mindful because they're like Evan can't overrule a decision that I want to dig my heels on and vice versa. So we have to be able to communicate openly to get through certain things. But then I think kind of meaningfully for our team members, we are, I hope, one of the good versions of a company that has an open-ended vacation policy. And I kind of liken ours to like an open-ended life policy. And I tell our team all the time that I don't care how many hours they spend working per week. We judge success based on results, not attendance.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to talk about trust-based leadership. You cannot have leadership without a level of trust that allows people to know that you have their best interest in mind and that you are going to do and make decisions in alignment with that. Now, if that's not present, you will find a lot of struggle and stress and you pulling people along because trust is such a critical element to all organization success. But inside leadership, it is an absolute imperative. Our special guests today are the co-founders of very special games. They are tabletop games, some very interesting games if you're into that sort of thing. We have Evan Katz and Josh Roberts talk about trust-based leadership. They look at kind of some of the things they put into place between themselves and how that will actually make them better leaders and make their company perform at a higher level. They were on the Inc. list, like many of our guests on this show before, but trust-based leadership was today's conversation. I think you'll enjoy some of the details that come up around how they create that inside their own business and how that leads to success. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm a CEO coach. We do executive coaching and we do manager coaching as well. We do leadership development for many of the biggest brands inside of the Inc. 5000. These are not big companies, but we work with more Inc. 5000 companies in leadership development than anyone out there. And I say all this to you because I'd love to help you create the kind of leadership and kind of the force inside your business that is very supportive to next level growth, that is resilient, and that allows you to create kind of the company of your dreams. One of the best compliments my clients have ever given me is I am now living inside the company of my dreams. I am operating at a higher level. We are performing at a higher level. We are certainly selling more, but a lot of the challenges that we were facing before and the headwinds of culture and people are no longer present because of their better leadership. Now, I mention this to you because if there's something I could do to help you be a better leader, I don't know what it is. I don't know what your leadership blind spot is. And if you don't know what it is, then you can't address it. And so if you're curious about what your leadership mindset is and the blind spot that is holding you back, then I do offer a few chances on my calendar, one a week. If you would reach out to me by email, gene@genehammett.com, I can help you understand that leadership blind spot, help you create a plan to move forward. And if you've got a big opportunity in front of you, you need alignment, not just within the team, but within your own leadership and your own thoughts in your head. And I would give you that, allow you to take it and run with it, or me and my team can come in and help you execute and accelerate what you're doing. So it's absolutely free. All you have to do is send me the email, gene@genehammett.com. Now, here's the interview on trust-based leadership with Evan and Josh. Hello, Evan and Josh.
Hey, Gene,
Hey,
how are you?
how you doing, Gene?
I'm excited to be here. We're going to have an incredible conversation about kind of the leadership principles and kind of what really drives your company. But before we do that, let's talk about your company. So tell us about Very Special Games.
Yeah, so Very Special Games is a tabletop board game company. We are entering our sixth year of business. We've got 8 products in market now. We are decidedly tabletop games, not video games. If you've heard of any of our products, our top seller is called Ransom Notes, and it's a party game where players are presented with one of up to 250 prompt cards, ranging from fairly mundane to like write a jingle for a toupee store, to my personal favorite, which is write a eulogy for your boss who you openly despise. And all the players have this word cloud of random word magnets, and they do their best to respond to that prompt. And the fun in the game comes from kind of the creativity that you activate in trying to cobble together a response that makes sense, but the comedy that comes from the inevitably horrible grammar. So you can find that one in Target and Barnes and Noble. The other one you may have heard of is called Abduction, which is like a color matching formation light strategy sort of product. And we are excited to be launching a couple more light strategy games later this year, and have some more party game products coming soon.
Anything to add to that, Evan?
No, I think that covers it. Probably worth mentioning when people hear board game, they tend to think we're making games like Risk or Settlers of Catan and these very kind of, hey, spend an hour reading the instructions, and then play for 4 hours type of things. And we kind of make games on the opposite end of the spectrum. So we oftentimes our customers, someone who might not consider themselves a board gamer, maybe has never even really played a board game before, but we're making party games and these very easy to learn, very accessible games that people hopefully say, oh, okay, this is what a board game can be. It's something that I learned in 5 minutes and takes half an hour to play and brings me together with my kids, family. You might play over the breakfast table with your spouse, that type of thing.
Well, I love
probably worth mentioning too,
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I love
worth mentioning that. Yeah. We started as a strictly e-commerce company, which is kind of backwards from how a lot of other companies start in the board game world, at least traditionally. It was primarily a retail first type of industry, and in many ways it still is, and mass retail like Target and Walmart. But we started on Kickstarter and did the crowdfunding method and with our first game, and powered that through a lot of meta advertising. And that's still kind of the bread and butter of our company today, but we've used that to grow through Amazon. And now we are selling in retail placement like Target and Walmart as well.
Well, let's dive into this. I know we could talk about games all the time. I love games. My son loves games. Obviously, you guys love games. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing. But it takes a team to deliver on this. And you guys have a fairly small team, but you made the Inc. list, so you get a chance to be on the show and tell us what you look at for leadership. And what came out of this, just to prompt you guys, was trust-based leadership. I know what those words are independently, but I'd love your interpretation on what they are together.
Sure. So I think leadership for us, in a very practical way, kind of starts with Evan has a tendency to care about things that I can't be bothered with, and vice versa to some extent. So I think we complement each other really well. But importantly, what that means is we're very mindful of kind of complementing and supporting each other rather than clogging up each other's lanes, which sometimes is tough in a small privately held company that has 50-50 co-owners. You have to be mindful, because they're like, Evan can't overrule a decision that I want to dig my heels on, and vice versa. So we have to be able to communicate openly to get through certain things. But then I think kind of meaningfully for our team members, we are, I hope, one of the good versions of a company that has an open-ended vacation policy. And I kind of liken ours to like an open-ended life policy. And I tell our team all the time that I don't care how many hours they spend working per week. We judge success based on results, not attendance. So what that means is they can take care of their lives. They can go to recitals at school. They can take doctor's appointments as frequently as they need to, and as long as they're getting done what we've agreed to together, that are their responsibilities, we don't have any problem with it. So we're very much casting the vision and the direction for our team members, but then trusting them to go out and get the job done without a lot of handholding.
The trust side of that, when you look at this, vacation's one element, right? Trusting someone's going to have their work done, trusting that they got their, maybe got coverage when they're out for a week or 2 weeks. But then there's another side to this that you said is really interesting. Success based on results, not attendance. I think most people would like that as a part of their culture, but it's not running that way. Was this something intentionally you guys did from the beginning, or did you stumble into this approach?
Evan and I met. We worked at a growth strategy and innovation firm in Memphis. It's now called Epic Pivot, that had a policy very similar to ours. And we kind of took what they did and put it on steroids, so to speak. So I think we were always aware. And when Evan and I started working at Very Special Games full time, I was very clear that I'm not going to go back to a corporate mindset of, you got to clock in at 8 and you leave at 5. Like I'm not going to live my life that way, whether it's this business or some other thing, if it ever comes to that. And if I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to expect our team members to do it either. I think if I'm going to demand sort of the freedom and flexibility and trust that comes from that, you have to give that to other people as well.
I think another part of it is it was a little bit born out of necessity in the sense that we're a small team, a small leadership team. Josh and I, we don't have the bandwidth to have a big bureaucratic system that's kind of looking over. Hey, are you staying here till 5 today? And also the specifics of like, are you following our procedures and protocols kind of exactly as we train you to do? Like, we're too small of a company and things are still shifting so rapidly that it's more about, hey, we're here, we need to get up to here and we don't know how to do it. So rather than us giving you a playbook and then micromanaging how you follow it, it's actually been much more effective to say, look, we've brought you in because we're hoping you're smarter than us. And for example, our director of social media content and community, Amanda, who's been just a rock star got us 53 million TikTok views last year. Like, I don't know how to make a good TikTok video. And so by taking our hands off the wheel and the specifics of what she was creating and just letting her experiment, use her own expertise and creativity, I think it ended up being a lot more effective.
I love that example because, getting someone in there that's smarter than you in different areas, like social media is not my forte. And so my team does it for me, for anyone who's wondering. I guide and direct, but I'm really looking for that dose of creativity that you guys have. Trust-based leadership to me, though, is so much about leading by example. You guys haven't talked about it. Is it just because it's so obvious and whatnot that you've got to, trust each other and trust those around you? How does lead by example play a role in your culture?
I think one of the big benefits of working at a small company is there's no place to hide. So if a project is mine and it doesn't get done, it's obvious that I failed.
Yeah.
So we're almost beholden to results via exposure, because we're on such a small team. And I think Evan and I kind of openly communicate with each other on a regular basis, both when we've let one another down for any reason or when we've sort of exceeded expectations in a very positive way. And we do that with our team on a regular basis. I don't know if that's the whole answer to your question, but maybe Evan has something to add there.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I would add is I think if there is a lead by example going on, in my mind, it probably has a lot to do with our experimental approach to almost everything. We've gotten to where we are, I think, through kind of constant experimentation, both on like, hey, we're going to, throw up some different types of ad creatives and see what works. But, from a business model standpoint, let's see what happens if we launch this product in Walmart type of standpoint. And a lot of times these things don't work. And so making it very clear to the team that like, hey, shit, that thing we were excited about last month, we've been working on it and it totally failed. And making it clear that like, that's going to happen and that's expected, I think hopefully gives the rest of the team the permission to take a similar bold approach and not be afraid of having things not work on the first time around.
Now, let me break in here for a second. One of the gentlemen here on the show today, I don't know if it was Josh or Evan, but they just said that we have an experimental approach to everything. Now, I've seen this quite often, that cultures that have this idea that they're going to experiment are typically winning more than those that are playing it safe. Let me explain what that really means. Playing it safe is sort of playing not to lose. And that can work. And in certain, you may be able to make a case in today's, current markets and uncertainty in the stock markets and what's going on with tariffs. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you may not want to experiment with. You might want to play it safe. But if you really want to win, if you really want to stand out from the others, you got to play to win and you got to experiment. And that doesn't mean just you, the founder or the co-founders. It means you and your executive team and everyone around you. One thing I would leave you with this is, it's not just your ideas that win. It's the best ideas that win. And so you want to make sure that everyone is willing to experiment and share those ideas. That sense of psychological safety is a real thing, because if they don't have that psychological safety, they will not share those ideas in the meetings. And so you're left to carry it yourself. But if you create this and you lead by example and you do this, reinforce it over time, you can have a culture where experimentation is a part of this culture and you will grow because of it. And you're playing to win. So I mixed a lot of things in there today. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, that it is good to embrace this, everything is an experiment, because every time we put it out there, we get feedback and we learn from it. And if you do that at speed, you will have a much further development of strategies and much more mature, because you're working at a different pace than your peers. Back to Evan and Josh. I think it's one thing for two co-founders to have that approach to innovation. It might not work out because you've made the decision to spend your money. Do you have trouble getting your people to think the same way because it's not their money and they get a little bit more hesitant, or it's not, they feel like it may not be their decision to make, and so they hold back a little bit in those innovative ideas?
I hope not. I think we're very good on the front end of setting expectations, and we've been lucky to recruit people to the team who are very good at asking clarifying questions in regards to whatever they need to feel empowered to make the decision. So, for example, one of our team members talks about big ideas, and if they get green light, she's very quick to say, okay, what's my budget? Another team member is very good at, okay, I understand the project, what's my timeline? So I think we do serviceable to good job of setting clear expectations and having creating an environment where people can have open and honest conversations about what they need in order to feel empowered.
I think another thing for me there is it goes back to that trust-based leadership, and it's been a lesson for me that sometimes giving more responsibility and full picture is the key to these things. Whereas just to give you one example, when now our COO, who used to just more of her job was just handling our freight and inventory ordering and stuff before she was promoted, and sometimes there was a disconnect between how much inventory she was ordering or wanted to order versus me and Josh saying, oh, I think that's way too much, it's going to affect our bottom line in this way, it's too risky. And we realized, well, we're not giving her the tools to do her full job. We need to be open book with our financials so she can see the impact of if we go a couple $1 million too high on inventory ordering. And once we did that, she was like, oh, I see it now. And it's really, but of course the issue was us. It wasn't her. It was not giving her the full picture she needed to make that decision. So, when it comes to our employees able to run those experiments they want, I think it's helpful when they can really see the full picture of why. Well, yeah, it's almost like you got a blank check to run this experiment as long as it's going to come back in a way that makes sense.
Before we cut on the recorder, you guys were sharing me some of the things that you guys do tactically, and maybe you call them a strategy or whatnot. But one of them, as an example, was, I think you said monthly, you do complaints and grievances. Tell us a little bit about what that is and why that's such an important factor to your culture.
I think for complaints and grievances specifically, I think people in general need an opportunity to have difficult conversations with the people they work with the people they love, in a way that feels safe and respectful. Like, I know I've said things to Evan before during our complaints and grievances session that I put a lot of thought into how I was going to say it and was kind of nervous about bringing it up, and wanted to, make sure that, I'm heard without being hurtful and kind of all of that. But I think you need it, because the other side is, you've got a partner who owns 50% of your company who, I mean, it's crazy when you say it in this black and white, but do you really want a partner who owns half your company, is on some level in control of half your wealth, who you can't trust to have an open, honest conversation with? Like, that's nuts, right? So we set that thing up just so it's like, we don't have ongoing battles or arguments or like festering problems, even around big issues. Because it's like, our life moves very fast. We've got a lot of fish to fry, but I know, once a month we've got 15 to 30 minutes or whatever, where if I need to get something off my chest about what happened in the last month, I can do that, and Evan's going to hear it loud and clear.
Yeah.
So I think you set that example, and it kind of becomes a cultural thing, but I think it's important that, people need that and maybe use it differently. Like, I think Evan probably sees complaints and grievances different than I do.
But I think just knowing that it's there is is very important. That's half the battle. And I was saying at the beginning of the call, we do complaints and grievances, and then we also do compliments and gratitudes. And it would be easy for us in the day to day to just go months without, even though I appreciate so many things about what Josh is doing and has done, but it might not get said. And I do think it matters to hear that. And we also, have a weekly ritual with our team where we're just like, what was the win you got from last week? And you just talk about it with the group there. So I think it's just building in a framework for the way you want to run your company, almost from like an emotional standpoint, is pretty useful.
Now, someone just mentioned open book management. What that really means is they're willing to share the financials of the company so that others can make decisions. In this example, the COO can make decisions. Now, one of the things I want you to really think about here is not necessarily open book management, but I want you to think about your transparency line. This is a frame that I have called with my clients, that there are some things that you share and there's some things that you don't share. That's where your transparency line is. The companies I've seen perform at a higher level typically have a more remarkable transparency line. It is closer to, I will share anything and everything. There may be cases where you can't share, that you're purchasing someone or you're selling the business. I get those things. But when in day to day, if you're facing challenges, you want to make sure that you can share with your people so they can rally for you. And that really is something that I've seen happen over and over again with my own companies, with my own, clients, and then just through the podcast interviews, so many people have talked about the importance of transparency. And so I'm just going to mention it. It's not just about sharing financials. If you do share financials, make sure they understand what they mean, educate them on the key factors and the key ratios that are necessary so that they can look at it without you and not make up their own story. But what I'm reinforcing here today is the transparency line. The more remarkable it is, the closer it is to share everything, the more likely you are to have the kind of company of your dreams. Back to Josh and Evan. Just to make sure I get the logistics right of this, the complaints and grievances is separate from the compliments and gratitudes.
No, that's I mean, they are separate, but they happen within minutes of each other.
Okay.
We start with the complaints and grievances, go to compliments and gratitudes, but we're saying that's just between Josh and I. We haven't rolled that out to the full team yet. We may one day. But this is just between us, and we do have one-on-ones with the team where this sort of thing is certainly open and acceptable, but less formalized.
I'm glad you added that to it because that was going to be my other question. Is like, is this just YouTube? Because the example you gave, hey, we need to talk with these things out. But I will tell you too, not that you asked, but I do work with a lot of teams, and transparency is such an important piece. You talked about the value of sharing your books with your COO to make that decision on ordering, giving them a chance to be open with you guys, give you feedback on whatever, will always come back to help you in the long run.
I think so.
Maybe not easy, but, and I'll just add the punctuation on this statement. When you trust your people enough with a level of transparency, they will typically rally for you, not against you.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I'd love to hijack your podcast for a minute, Gene, and ask for more of your advice, even though you didn't offer it. So I've thought a lot about entertaining complaints and grievances during, obviously not weeklies because that feels way too frequent, but maybe once a month with the individual team members. But I sort of struggle with the authenticity of it. So I kind of put myself in our employees' shoes, and if they're in a meeting with Evan and I, and we're going through complaints and grievances, and they are saying to Josh, this is the thing about you that grinds my gears, and they're saying to Evan, I really didn't like when you did this. And now all of a sudden the two of us are like, oh yeah, well, you did this, and this. It seems like that could get negative very fast. So how would you suggest, as people who manage a company that kind of strives to have this transparency and have that open conversation, that transparent complaints and grievances process while maintaining authenticity while we do it?
I love the question. I don't get asked that many questions through the podcast. Normally it's after the podcast is over.
Sure.
But I'm happy to record this for our audience here. I feel like whatever mindset shifts in your head probably just needs to be, you need to look at that really hard, because if it's worked for you two and you've got a small group of people, we're not talking about 80 people, we're talking about a handful of people that you could offer the same level of feedback for, and just say, lead by example. Hey, we've done this for months and it's worked for us. We'd love to bring you into it because Because I will tell you, one of the things of my data, people feel a higher sense of ownership when they're included into something. If they're excluded, they don't have a high sense of ownership. So if they're in the meeting when the board game is decided how we're going to market this in the next campaign, they feel included. But if they're not in the meeting and they're just told what to do down the road, they're excluded. That makes sense, right?
Sure.
When you guys decide to open this up, you're inviting them into a special place where we can give feedback. Now, certain boundaries may be discussed because I don't know what boundaries you two have done, written or unwritten or unsaid. Sounds like you guys talk a lot with each other, but you might want to say, hey, this isn't a place for you to just air out the negative things for people and just spew whatever it is. It's for meaningful, heartfelt feedback, or it's meant to help people grow, not to hurt them. And so when you create the boundaries around these things, then and you lead by example, I think you'll have people that will go, oh, okay, that's what they mean, and watch it happen and move into it slower. You don't have to jump right into it. Once a month is fine. I'm going to lead a similar session for one of my bigger clients. We have that whole executive team, and we do it once a year, but we'll do it for 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Because it's such
That's
an
great.
important thing. And I encourage them to do it afterwards. I encourage them to do it one-on-one whenever they need to. But this is just a chance for better alignment across an executive team, which they're bigger than you guys. No offense, but they're probably 180 people. So there'll be 6
Wow.
executives in this room, which is close to the size of your entire company, right?
Yeah, that is the size of our entire company.
It's to recap this, it's a really good way to bring them in and make them feel included. It's work for you guys, and you guys can frame it like that. Hey, let's try this and explore this. Maybe we only do it for 3 months and it doesn't work for us, or maybe at 3 months we decide to continue doing it because it's such a great tool. That would be my suggestions. I will be honest with you. I'm good at giving sort of advice, but my main thing is asking a bunch of questions to help you understand it yourself. But today was a good example of maybe some advice consulting giving as opposed to coaching.
Yeah, thanks for the advice. I appreciate it.
The main thing you have to think about, Josh, on this is ask yourself what's really getting in your way. What are you afraid of? You don't have to answer that for me because that's something maybe you and Josh or Evan can talk about, is what are we afraid of if we open this up to others? And then create something that works for you guys as a way to walk before you crawl, before you run. You don't have to go in head first. It can work, but it can just be a little bit different approach than you guys do. I don't think you guys put on the boxing gloves. You didn't mention that earlier.
No, it's pretty. I think one thing that has really worked for Josh and I don't know if we lucked into this or it's just our nature, but I mean, Josh and I disagree strongly about probably several things a day. But it's never personal. And I think we built this space for communication where we can go to the mat on, I really think this board game needs to have this element and this one, or whatever it is, but it's not because I think you're a moron.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Patrick Lencioni's book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, where he talks about healthy conflict. You guys should be having these kind of discussions, and it should be beyond you, not just the 2 founders being able to do that.
Yeah, you have to, I think. And I mean, it's to the point where we've recognized, when it comes to, I think, game creation, especially because, Josh and I, we have, with a few exceptions recently, haven't acquired our games. We've created them all from scratch, either entirely ourselves or we've worked with an outside creator and workshopped it with them. But creating a really high quality product just from your own brain is it's really hard. We might even say it's not really possible. And so having a 2-person or more team, but probably just 2-person team, we found is ideal to have those ideas bounce off each other and they morph as you discuss and debate them. It's just always so much of a better product.
Agreed. Well, we've been talking about trust-based leadership with Evan and Josh, co-founders at Very Special Games. Really appreciate you guys sharing your wisdom with us and being a part of the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Gene. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, another great interview. There were so many opportunities in there to talk about my book, but I didn't want to bore anyone. But if you want to pick up How to Have Tough Conversations, wherever you buy books online, you can do that. It will help you give your next tough conversation in a way that's more empathetic and more effective. And that's really what it's all about, is leading. Now, if there's anything else I can help you with, make sure you reach out to me, gene@genehammett.com. And when you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of growth thinking. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.